Hello, friends. Welcome to our Calories 101 community call. So these are calls that I do every so often in our community to just dial back into basic education about what's going to help us be our healthiest and feel our best. So today we're talking about calories. Last week we talked about maximizing progress, and calories are one piece of that puzzle. So today we're going to deep dive into this topic. If you have any questions at all, you can always put comments in the video or reach out to me directly. But I always feel like the more education you have, the better chance you have at success toward any goal. So calories themselves, the goal isn't just to count calories. Like, you could just monitor your bank account, but if you don't have a goal for what you want your money to do, it's just sitting there. Same thing with your calories. You could count calories just to gee whiz, see how many calories I'm having or not having, or burning or not burning. But the goal is to have a goal for your calories. What is the appropriate amount of calories that you need? What is the appropriate amount of calories to burn, depending on what your goals are? Now, that's going to be different for different people. Some people, their goal is to lose weight. Some people, it's to maintain weight. Some people, it's to build muscle. Some people, it's to enhance their performance at something athletic. Some people might need to gain weight for certain health concerns. So everybody's goal is different. But the number one thing that I really want to drive home is that tracking your food and having the data is going to serve you, right? It is information that you can utilize to best get to your healthiest spot. So calories are your friends. I know I grew up in a generation where we were basically told, restrict your calories and you'll be skinny. I mean, I sent away for my first diet book at age 13. It was out of 17 magazine. You literally had to send like a money order into some place, and they sent you a workbook, basically how to starve yourself to be skinny. I mean, this was the 80s and 90s. So I have to drive this home, especially for women who are my age, because we have been taught, and it's ingrained to us, that you just need to eat less calories. If you want to be skinny, you just need to eat less calories. Now, there is some scientific reasoning to that, but the reality is just restricting your calories is not the full picture. You need calories. So sometimes if you're overdoing it, or I would say underdoing it with your calories, you're going to lead to other health problems. You're going to lead to binge eating. You're going to lead to loss of muscle mass. So your body needs calories. Calories are your friends. You can lose weight and still eat a satisfying amount of calories. And that is what we're going to talk about today. All right. So why are calories important? They are literally energy. Now, one catchphrase that I use a lot in my own life and in my coaching is food is fuel. So just like your car needs a certain amount of fuel to get from here to work, or from here to the mall, or from here to, grandma's house, you need a certain amount of fuel for you to get through your day. It is energy. So that's why we need to make sure that you're having enough. Okay. You need them to survive, but you also need them for essential bodily function. So if you've ever tried to really restrict calories and all of a sudden you have brain fog, or you have low blood sugar, you're just out of energy, that's because you're not getting enough fuel. So we want to make sure that you're getting enough food, and then of course enough calories of the right types of food. And that's why we're going to talk more about what your calories are made up of. So 3 ways that calories are going to influence how much you weigh and how you hit your goal. Your body is really good at staying where it wants to be. So status quo, just like if you took a bowl of water and you shook it up, it's going to settle down to be exactly still. That's kind of what your body wants. So if you're overeating calories, it's going to feel out of whack. If you're under eating calories, it might feel out of whack. It wants to stay the same. So naturally, if you're not tracking your calories and you're not really overdoing it with food, you're probably maintaining without even knowing it. You've probably, been around the same weight for the past 6 months or year, or, you've had this slight uptick because your metabolism might be changing, or you're overeating. Some stress might be inducing, but in general, our bodies are pretty good at staying where they are. So to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So what that means is your body burns a certain amount of calories just to exist. If you eat less calories than that, your body will lose weight because it will take those calories that it needs from your stored fat or your stored muscle. In calorie maintenance, you're eating just about what you need to burn. So you basically are staying the same. In a calorie surplus, that means you're eating more than you're burning, is when you are going to gain weight, or if you're trying to build muscle, you actually need extra calories in that sense. So there's a lot of math that comes in here, which is why using a food tracker that takes all the guesswork out for you, that literally gives you the math and says, this is what you're supposed to eat. This is how much of this and that and the other thing you're supposed to eat. It takes the mental load off of your mind, because of what I find is a lot of people, they want to be healthy, so they're trying to make healthy choices, like, oh, I had a salad for lunch, that seems like a healthy choice. Oh, I put granola in my yogurt, that seems like a healthy choice. Oh, I chose yogurt over ice cream, that's a great choice. But without the specific data, sometimes they're getting frustrated with not getting to their goal, because again, the math has to math for you to either go up, for you to stay the same, or for you to go down. And so that's why the more data we have, I always tell my people, the better your progress is going to be. So calories are the fuel, but those calories are made up of different macronutrients. So there's four macronutrients. There's protein, which is 4 calories per gram, carbs, also 4 calories per gram, fat, which is 9 calories per gram, and alcohol, which is 7 grams. Now, all of these serve a purpose in your body. So protein is good for building muscle, insulating your body. It's the building block of our bodies, right? Carbs are good for fuel. We need carbs. Sometimes you'll be like, I just do low carb and I lose so much weight, but it's really not sustainable, because your body does definitely need carbs to survive. Might not mean you need a ton, but it does need some. And even no carb diets have some carbs in them, unless you are in a very specific health situation with a certain condition that needs to have very, very little carbs. But at that point, you're probably eating very, very restricted food. Okay. Fat, our bodies also need. I was also of the generation where it was the fat-free craze, where fat-free cookies, fat-free, everything was fat-free, but it still had tons of sugar and carbs in it. So it wasn't necessarily healthier. But our bodies need fat for digestion, for insulation, for our organs, and it's all necessary. Alcohol is the one macronutrient that's completely unnecessary. You do not need it to survive. It serves no purpose. I would say, unless you're trying to dance better at a wedding. But in general, that is something that you could very easily eliminate and save those calories. All right. So if you are new to tracking, if you are new to thinking about your calories, I'm going to give you a couple tips here. So you're like, hey, I look at the calories. I'm like, oh, I just had a yogurt. Oh, this is like, 90 calories, 100 calories. Okay, but what does that mean? So that's why I always say, if you can put the data into a tracker, it's going to do the math for you. It's going to help you see what you're actually eating, give you the data. So that first step is just being aware of what you're eating. So I find a lot of times my clients will start tracking, and I say, just use it like a food diary. Just start putting your food into the tracker, and all of a sudden, like, oh, I see how much I'm eating. Oh, I see I'm definitely not getting enough protein. Or wow, I didn't realize, this burrito was 1,000 calories. That's like half my day. So it's awareness. First step is awareness, just becoming aware of what you're eating naturally. Second is adjustment. You take what you're already eating, what you're kind of bent toward, what's part of your routine, and then you just tweak it. You're like, oh, okay, well, I find, I have some people are like, I really like a salty snack at night. I've been eating potato chips for a long time. Okay, if you need a salty snack, potato chips are not fitting into your goal, let's find you something else. We adjust what you're eating. We don't totally have to take it away, because we can either like half the serving of potato chips, or my suggestion would be, let's have popcorn. Popcorn is healthier, has more fiber, it has less calories. So you can take the awareness, and then you adjust it to fit your goals. Simple things are usually big changes in people's lives. They don't realize it, that you don't have to do a 180. You don't have to eat fancy foods. You don't have to eat expensive foods. You don't have to eat foods you don't like. Some people will be like, hey, I don't eat fish, then don't eat fish. Or like, I can't have dairy, then we don't have to have dairy. There's so many good food choices out there that you don't have to eat things that you don't like. You don't have to be miserable. There's so much options out there. Okay. First step is awareness. Second step is adjustment. Third is accountability. Having someone who can see your food is the game changer for a lot of people, because if you try to go it alone, you start tracking, and then it's the weekend, and then it's the birthday, and then it's the holidays. All of a sudden you're like, well, I'm not really tracking anymore, because there's no one to hold you accountable. I find the people who are most diligent in their tracking and their weekly check-ins with me as a coach are the ones who have the most success, because they're bought in, they're being consistent, and they have someone else looking at. So whether it's me as a coach, or you have a partner or a friend, or a gym partner or something that you can use as accountability, that is the game changer for a lot of people to get to their goal. Okay, so we talked about that calories are our fuel, they're what give us energy. But we also, part of this equation is how we burn calories. So, a lot of times people are like, oh, my watch said that I burned, 1,000 calories. Does that mean that I get to eat an extra 1,000 calories? It's a question I get a lot because the tracker that I use to coach does not add in calories for your exercise. One, because it's already factored into your daily totals based on your steps. That's another story for our movement class. But also because a lot of times these watches or your Garmin or your Fitbit are overestimating how much you're burning by about 50%. Studies have shown them. It makes you feel real good. We're like, wow, I burned 1,000 calories. Look at me. Ha ha. But if you eat back in 1,000 calories, a lot of times people will end up gaining weight because it's not completely accurate. Okay. So there's a few ways that we burn calories that are accurate. One is our resting metabolic rate. Now, this is scientifically figured out. There's different formulas. You can even go online, put your numbers in a free tracker, and it will shoot out for you. Based on your average movement, your age, your height, you're going to burn a certain amount of calories just to exist. This would be if you literally just laid. Huh, I don't know. If you were to lay in bed all day long, your body would still burn calories. That's your resting metabolic rate. Okay, so typically it's about taking your current weight times 10. So if you're 140 pounds, that would be 1,400 calories. That's just to exist. That doesn't count movement, steps, cleaning your house, going to work, walking the dog, actual exercise. So all that is typically on top of it. So if you're a 140-pound woman, your average is at 1,400 calories just to exist, and you're eating 1,100 calories because some diet book somewhere told you that. You, over the long haul, are under fueling your body. Now, you might lose some weight, but you're probably also going to lose muscle. So that's where you really want to have these numbers dialed in. So you have your resting metabolic, you have your daily activity, that's exercise, that's non-exercise activity. So like I said, that's cleaning your house, walking your dog. And then there's thermogenesis, which is what your body uses to burn the food that you eat, thermic effect of food. So all this is to say, your body needs calories. So you're putting calories in. Your body needs calories to function, and so there is that sweet spot of what is an appropriate deficit. One of the things I want to emphasize is with, say, the 1st Phorm tracker, which is what I use. It has a deficit built in. So, say you are a 140-pound woman, and the tracker says, "Hey, you need to eat 1,900 calories to, continue to lose body fat." Sometimes my clients will be like, oh, it told me I need 1,900. So I'm going to eat 1,700. I'm going to be a star student. I'm going to do under what it says. Part of the challenge with that is if your deficit is too high. So on average, about 500 calorie deficit is something that your body can sustain without headaches, fatigue, without being super grumpy, without losing muscle mass. It's a little bit under your what you need. So it's going to help you get to the goal, but it's not so much under that it's going to lead to cravings, lead to binge eating, lead to just, being in a foul mood all the time. Have you ever met someone who's on a strict diet and they're like literally cranky all the time? So I always tell people, trust the tracker and it will adjust. So as your weight goes up and down, those numbers will adjust with your progress. So don't rush the process. If you trust what the tracker says, and if you are accurately hitting those numbers, again, this comes to our slide right here, we need to be as accurate as possible, because what will happen is if, say, your tracker says you to eat 1,900 and you're kind of sort of tracking your calories, but you're not putting in your butter and you're not putting in your ketchup and you're like not measuring out your granola, you could easily be overeating. So accuracy does matter, especially if you are locked into a goal. If you are not making progress and you think you are eating exactly correctly, we would have to really look at and see, is there an adjustment that needs to be needed, or is there an adjustment in how you're tracking? So here's a great example with just granola. So I literally just had granola in my yogurt and I measured out, because based on these little spoons right here, that is a big gap between how many calories are in a fourth of a serving, a half of a serving, and a full serving of granola. It's very easy to overeat if you are not being accurate. So number one tool for tracking your food is a tracker, right? Tracking your calories. Second tool is a scale, because even if you're using measuring cups, the scale is going to be exact, whereas a measuring cup can kind of be loosey-goosey depending on how full it is, how packed it is. A great example is peanut butter. You can put 1 tablespoon of peanut butter on something. 1 tablespoon could be like a slight heap or a super big heap. Now, that's going to be a total different amount of calories. So, if you're weighing it, it's going to be the most accurate possible. So, when you are trying to lose weight and stay under your calories, so the first two things I always tell my clients is you want to stay under your calories that the app has set for you, and you want to make sure that you are hitting your protein. Because part of the challenge is if you just restrict calories without focusing on your protein, you very well might lose weight, but you're also going to lose some muscle. And so we want to keep and maintain as much muscle as possible. We're going to talk all about protein in our class next week. So I'm not going to deep dive into that. But I wanted to share a couple swaps that will either help you save calories or help you save calories and also increase protein. Because a lot of times these are the kind of things that when I look in someone's tracker as their coach, I can say, hey, you're having this, if you're having trouble staying in your calories or hitting your protein, here are some things that we can swap out. So we'll just go through these somewhat quickly. If you like potato chips, try popcorn, right? You're going to save about 100 calories. If you like sour cream, I love sour cream. I still eat sour cream. I just definitely make sure that I track it. And I also sometimes will use the light. Plain Greek yogurt as a substitute will save you about half your calories. White pasta versus zucchini noodles, that is a huge savings. But if you are like, look, I just know what the pasta is fine. Just make sure you're having an actual serving of it. Well, I measure out my pasta on the scale. It's a decent amount, but the average amount of pasta that you would get, say, at a restaurant, or most people it would even serve themselves, is probably double or triple servings. Same thing goes for cereal. If you've ever measured out cereal, you're like, wow, this is not how much I would be pouring in my bowl. Whole milk, there's so many good alternatives from almond milk, oat milk, skim milk, 1%, whole milk. Like, I don't know anybody who drinks whole milk anymore, but you can find different options for that. Ground beef, which I also still eat ground beef, but if you're trying to save some calories, you can swap out ground turkey or just make sure you go for that lean ground beef. Cheese is a huge one that a lot of people, you like cheese. Some people like cheese, that's fine. But to button it up a little bit is not that hard and you won't really miss it. So one of the big swaps that I often will tell people is if they're having a sandwich, they'll put 1 serving of deli meat and 1 serving of cheese. One of the best swaps you can do is to double your deli meat because deli meat is super low in calories and high in protein. So you're going to bump up your protein. And if you half your cheese on your sandwich, you're really not going to notice you're missing the cheese, but you're going to get so much more protein. So cheese of any kind, I would use sparingly. If you love it, use it. But instead of doing, see, even on tacos, instead of doing 1 whole ounce of cheese, do a half. You'll still get the cheese flavor, but you're not going to have as many calories. So yes, full fat cheese for light string cheese, or again, you could always half that serving. Mayonnaise, either light mayonnaise or just mustard, right? Sometimes people will substitute Greek yogurt or even like a light ranch dressing. Here, next one is ranch dressing. Full fat dressings are super high and honestly unnecessary. Especially, this is not forever. If you're like, hey, I really love ranch dressing, I want to have it sometimes, that's fine. But when you are trying to lose weight and you're trying to find ways to button up your calories, these can even be temporary swaps. So either a balsamic or a light dressing would be a great one. If you have a sweet tooth, you really like ice cream, there's frozen Greek yogurt. That's also going to add in protein. White bread for either a light white bread or wheat. The low calorie wraps. We also like the low calorie, low carb tortillas are great choices. Regular bacon for turkey bacon. Fruit juice for sparkling water. Those 0 calorie seltzers are really good, and they're also a good filler if you're hungry, finding yourself hungry. So on to the next thing. What happens when you're lowering your calories, you're, trying to be in a deficit and you're still hungry? Okay. A couple things to look at. First, make sure you're hitting your protein because protein keeps you full, it digests slowly, and it just is more satiating. So think about 100 calories of potato chips. It's probably like a small handful, or 100 calories of chicken. Okay, probably also a small handful, but that chicken is going to digest so much slower and give you so many more nutrients that you're not going to be hungry as fast. Okay. Second thing is increasing your fiber, veggies, fruit, and fibrous foods like popcorn, broccoli, whole wheat crackers, things that have a higher fiber count are going to help you stay fuller. And then again, drinking your water. A lot of times we think we are hungry. We're actually just thirsty. So water is super important. Next slide, very similar. How do you increase your protein? Really shoot to have that protein sprinkled throughout your day, 20 to 40 grams every 3 or 4 hours. My thought is like, you always just want to think protein first. So at your snack, what am I going to have with protein? Greek yogurt. For my breakfast, what am I going to have with protein? For my lunch, what am I? And then you choose your protein first, and then you can add in whatever your carbs or fats are to complement it. Again, increasing your veggies and fruits. Definitely the goal for women is 25 grams of fiber a day, men is 38. You could also use a multi-fiber drink. We have a really tasty one at First Form that if there's something that you just need a little extra full feeling, fiber drinks are really fantastic. And again, make sure you drink your water all day. Goal is 100 ounces of water a day for most people, 120 if you're over 200 pounds. So here's in general what I eat in a day. So before a workout, I usually have a protein bar and I have my pre-workout, post-workout, protein shake, breakfast, I have eggs and a carb. So eggs and toast, eggs and a tortilla, eggs and potatoes, and a collagen in my coffee. Snack, Greek yogurt almost every day for me with either granola or fruit or cottage cheese and fruit. Lunch, sometimes leftovers, tuna sandwich, turkey sandwich, some other like little convenience foods are those fiber brownies are really good. Veggie puffs are very filling, but they're so crunchy. Snack, again, you could have a protein shake. And dinner in our house is usually very simple. It's a protein, a carb, and a veggie. So that could be, grilled chicken, rice, and vegetable. It could be taco meat, tortillas, tomatoes. So depending on what your macros are for you, this would adjust for you and your goals. So you can use this as a example, but it would definitely be specific to what your calorie makeup would be for your specific goal. So here are some other ideas, snack ideas. Again, Greek yogurt, a protein bar, cheese stick wrapped in deli meat, hard-boiled eggs, cube chicken, hummus with veggies, beef jerky, Greek yogurt, granola, cottage cheese. And then here's also a list of different meals. So when you sign up with me as a one-on-one client, you also get a meal plan, which has all this in there, plus family recipes to help you feel successful with your tracking, just to give you options. So how do you make tracking your food easy? One, know the food that fuels you, that you like, that you can eat on repeat. Those are kind of your go-tos. I always say you might want to have one or two options for your breakfast, one or two options for your lunch, a couple options for dinner that you can rotate through. So these are my good choices. So you don't have to think about it over and over again. It might take you a little while to figure out what those choices are for you, but once you know them, you just tend to eat on repeat. It doesn't have to be boring, but you can still have variety. But in general, the more planning ahead, the more successful you're going to feel. So again, pre-planning your day, you can pre-track your food to make sure it all fits before you eat it. Save your food combinations as meals. You can build recipes. You can use copy and paste. It does get easier on over time because you're learning what is your best fuel, and also you're learning how to track, right? Utilizing whole foods and then supplements as you need. I always say everyone needs a multivitamin. You're not going to get all your nutrients from whole food. A lot of times adding in a collagen or protein powder or protein bar is going to help you get to that protein goal and help you stay under calories. And again, I would always use an app that has coach support. Again, sometimes it's hard to stick with it on your own. So when you have someone who's helping you in the process, who can offer you suggestions, who can hold you accountable, I think you're just going to be way more successful. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know. Calories are our friends. You don't have to be afraid of your food or how much you're eating, but the more data you have to get you to your goal, the more successful you're going to be. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to y'all soon.